Chapter 10 of The Hidden Power by Thomas Troward. The Present Truth. If thought power is good for anything, it is good for everything. If it can produce one thing, it can produce all things. For what is to hinder it? Nothing can stop us from thinking. We can think what we please, and if to think is to form, then we can form what we please. The whole question, therefore, resolves itself into this: is it true that to think is to form? If so, do we not see that our limitations are formed in precisely the same way as our expansions? We think that conditions outside our thought have power over us, and so we think power into them. So the great question of life is whether there is any other creative power than thought. If so, where is it, and what is it? Both philosophy and religion lead us to the truth that in the beginning, there was no other creative power than spirit, and the only mode of activity we can possibly attribute to spirit is thought. And so, we find thought as the root of all things. And if this was the case in the beginning, it must be so still. For if all things originate in thought, all things must be modes of thought, and so it is impossible for spirit ever to hand over its creations to some power which is not itself, that is to say, which is not thought power, and consequently, all the forms and circumstances that surround us are manifestations of the creative power of thought. But it may be objected that this is God's thought, and that the creative power is in God and not man. But this goes away from the self-evident axiomatic truth that, in the beginning, nothing could have had any origin except thought. It is quite true that nothing has any origin except in the divine mind, and man himself is therefore a mode of the divine thought. Again, man is self-conscious, therefore man is the divine thought evolved into individual consciousness, and when he becomes sufficiently enlightened to realize this as his origin, then he sees that he is a reproduction in individuality of the same spirit which produces all things, and that his own thought in individuality has exactly the same quality as the divine thought in universality. Just as fire is equally igneous whether burning round a large center of combustion or a small one. And thus, we are logically brought to the conclusion that our thought must have creative power. But people say, we have not found it so. We are surrounded by all sorts of circumstances that we do not desire. Yes, you fear them, and in so doing you think them. And in this way, you are constantly exercising this divine prerogative of creation by thought. Only through ignorance, you use it in a wrong direction. Therefore, the Book of Divine Instructions so constantly repeats, fear not, doubt not, because we can never divest our thought of its inherent creative quality, and the only question is whether we shall use it ignorantly to our injury or understandingly to our benefit. The Master summed up his teaching in the aphorism that knowledge of the truth would make us free. Here is no announcement of anything we have to do, or of anything that has to be done for us, in order to gain our liberty, neither is it a statement of anything future. Truth is what is. He did not say, you must wait till something becomes true which is not true now. He said, know what is truth now, and you will find that the truth concerning yourself is liberty. If the knowledge of truth makes us free, it can only be because in truth we are free already, only we do not know it. Our liberty consists in our reproducing on the scale of the individual the same creative power of thought which first brought the world into existence, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Let us then confidently claim our birthright as sons and daughters of the Almighty, and by habitually thinking the good, the beautiful, and the true, surround ourselves with conditions corresponding to our thoughts, and by our teaching and example help others to do the same.